Hey everybody, it's Monster Forge here again with another cool toy review, and this time it's the Transformers Legacy United G1 Universe Optimus Prime. This is a deluxe class figure, which means he's one of the smaller, not the smallest guys, but he's one of the smaller guys. The figure stands right at 5 inches tall. But what's cool about him is this is a kind of an homage, kind of a redo of an old G1 Optimus in a kind of a more affordable version, but updated. A little while back, Takara came out with the Missing Link Optimus, which is it's a redoing of the original G1 Optimus, which mine is not an original G1 Optimus. He's actually a G2 Optimus. He's a G2 Optimus. You can see by the G2 symbol there. But he is as close to a G1 figure as I'll get. He doesn't have all of his original parts. The sticker is a replacement sticker here, because when I got him, he didn't have a sticker. And the hands are replacements. These are from the Transformers. Oh, I can't remember the line. It was like a building toy line, but all the parts were compatible. Like they have 5mm pegs and peg holes. And that's as close to the Optimus Fist as I have. I don't have any of the vintage ones or any reproductions, but this works okay for me, for my purposes. It's 3 fingers and a thumb. I had to do some trimming on there. Oh, sorry. I had to do some trimming on there because it had... did it have the fingers that went both ways? That might have been what it was. Like they were universal, like 2 thumbs or something like that. Anyway, I just trimmed it to get it. But that's neither here nor there. And the gun's not the original gun for the G1 or G2 Optimus. But like I said, that's as close as I was going to get to a real, actual G1 Optimus Prime. I may or may not pick up one of the KO ones that you see floating around AliExpress. I've been debating it for a while, but, you know, maybe when there's a sale I'll buy it. But this is actually the Optimus Prime that... when I was a kid, my buddy and I, we were Transformers nuts, and we loved Optimus Prime, and we always wanted an Optimus Prime that was a little bit more dramatically posable than the actual G1. The extent of the posability for the G1, I'll just take his weapon out so I can show, the extent of the posability of the G1 figure, because most of the G1 figures are kind of limited, and it didn't matter to us because we had imagination, but I do remember sometimes when I was a kid, I'd be playing with the Transformer like, man, I wish his arms moved a different way. I wish you could sit him down or whatever. Like Optimus Prime was never able to sit down. So, but like the head didn't turn. About the extent of the articulation, if you pop him loose right here, he can look up. Hey, what's going on, fellers? See you working on the building up there. Help if I got it in focus. But that really wasn't meant to be an articulation point. That's just for transformation. But his arms, he rotated at the shoulder. That feels like it's going to pop if I move it. These older toys get kind of tetchy. He had a joint with like a ratcheted joint here at the elbow, and that would rotate out mainly due to the fact that it was part of the transformation. He also had like a kind of a butterfly joint here at the shoulder, and that was transformation as well. The fists on the original Optimus Prime were removable because that's where the headlights were, and you would just plug in the hands. And he was made in such a way that, yes, his chest would hold Diaclone pilots, but you could also, when he was in truck mode, you could store the fists inside of there so that you wouldn't lose them. And he had no waist articulation. The only articulation he had was the legs could go back. They couldn't go forward. That's as far forward as it would go. The knees would bend that far, and the toes could point. So you couldn't really get him in that whole movie pose where he had his leg up, kicking, you know, as he was flying through the air, shooting at the Decepticons. But we didn't care when we were kids. It was the imagination was everything. And so having an Optimus Prime, just having an Optimus Prime. I never had Optimus Prime when I was a kid. I didn't have any of the bigger Transformers unless they were on sale or something like that, or picked them up on a flea market or something. As a matter of fact, this Optimus Prime I got from a flea market. I don't think the person knew what they had. The G2 version is not really worth as much money as the G1 one, but it has die-cast parts in it. So like the original, it's got die-cast in it. Like the chest is die-cast, the feet are die-cast. Not sure about the other stuff. I think that's the only die-cast. But anyway, enough about him. This, on the other hand, this is the G1 Universe Optimus Prime from the current toy line. This is like currently available. Good luck finding them because I have yet to see one of these in a store. I had to order him through Big Bad Toy Store. And this is, you know, I showed you articulation on him. Now you'll notice he is smaller. And I think that's for budgetary reasons, to keep him in the affordable range. This figure is like $25. But the missing link one that Takara made, it was the exact same size as this, which is a Voyager scale Transformer. So he's like he's about 6 1/4 inches tall. The missing link figure is that scale. I think it might have die-cast parts on it like the original. I'm not sure, but it's more articulated. It also cost $80, and I'm just like, that's not within my price range for just a really a smaller toy. If it was, you know, something big and elaborate, which the missing link, the $80 one, is just the cab, just the main robot. It doesn't include the trailer or anything like that. And that's fine. I'm not going to fault you if you're into that kind of stuff, like, you know, paying a little bit more for your toys and all, but it's just something I can't really do because I collect so much crap. But anyway, this is like people have been calling it the budget version of it, and really it is, but in some ways it's different. There's different articulation on this than it's on the missing link, and the missing link has different articulation than on this. But just taking a look at that glorious articulation, yes, he has, you know, I'm going to show you the joints that he has that the original one had. You know, the original one had the joint that spun around all the way. This one has a joint that spins around all the way. There was a butterfly at the shoulder because of transformation. There's a butterfly at the shoulder because of transformation. There's an elbow that bends 90 degrees. There's an elbow that bends 90 degrees. There's the elbow rotates out to the side, so you get that movement there. Let's see. The hips would go back like that. The hips go back on this one as well, all the way. The knees bent 90 degrees. The knees bend 90 degrees here. The toes would straighten out, and the toes would straighten out here. Now, that's the similarities in articulation between this and the original. Now, here's where it gets more interesting. The neck is on a ball joint, so he can turn his head, whereas that one couldn't. He can look up. He can look down a little bit. He can tilt his head side to side for expression. Not only does he have the butterfly and the rotating joint here, he now has like a swivel or a hinge that lets his arms go out to the side. Same joints in there and all. Now, one thing that this one has that this one doesn't have is a wrist that rotates. This one's wrist does not rotate. They could have done that, but I think that would add to the budget they have to work within. So as part of the transformation, this just folds into the arm here, and so they didn't have a joint there. Now, back with things that differ from this one, you can pop the bumper here up You can disengage the wheels on the hips, and then you have the ability to turn the figure at the waist all the way around. The legs can go forward now, and it has like a little skirt here that'll lift up, so they can go all the way forward. They can go all the way back. Now, for the first time, the G1, or not the first time, I guess the Missing Link did it before this, but you're able to kick out to the side now, and he can do a full, almost a full split. I don't know if those wheels go all the way up enough to allow him to do. Oh yeah, he does. It allows him to do a full split. And see, those wheels are on hinges, so they can move out of the way. He has a rotational joint at the top of the thigh, the 90-degree bend at the foot. He has the, like that. But he also has the ability to tilt the heels, so he can get into really dynamic poses now, which is something that Optimus Prime, up until, they started making more modern versions of him, he didn't have the ability to do that. None of this articulation. Like you saw, the bare bones of articulation. And really, Optimus Prime was more articulated than a lot, if not most, of the G1 figures. He had a lot of articulation. But this one, now, as they got later along in the toy line, with Hasbro doing Transformers, sorry, they made Optimus Prime more articulated, but they also made him look more like the cartoon. This is a nod, not so much to the cartoon, but to the original toy. So much so that the original toy had yellow eyes, and this one has yellow eyes as well. And these eyes are light pipe, but you'll see it's not like a lot of light piping on Transformers figures, where the light shines through really well. This is kind of frosted, and I don't know if it's like a frosted plastic or if it's actually painted. The yellow is painted over, but you can see that it actually is light piping that goes through the thing to make the eyes light up. But I like that they kept it yellow, because that was what the original Optimus Prime's eyes were. Just very cool. He looks good from all angles, I think. He no longer has the big gap in the back like the original one does. He has a backpack here that is where you would put the head when he transforms. What else? Oh, the original Optimus Prime, like I showed, the chest would open up and you could put Diaclone drivers in here, or the fists. Now this chest on the new guy opens up as well, but it contains a matrix. The matrix of leadership. And this matrix is different from others. It's a very similar sculpt to a lot of the matrices that have been available for more recent Optimus Prime figures, and even like Hot Rod and stuff like that. Or wait a minute, does Hot Rod have one? Yeah, I think Hot Rod comes with one. It's a very similar sculpt, but this one's in a clear blue, and it does come out. It's a little bit, it's in there pretty well, so I usually have to get something. Oh, there we go, I got it. It comes out. Now there's no way for him to hold it because he has the holes through the hand. The hands don't open or anything like that, but you get a matrix, which is really cool. Anybody ever notice that the middle of the matrix looks like a TIE fighter cockpit? But he has a cool little sculpted chamber to hold the matrix, and it holds it really well. I took the matrix out of the Earthrise Optimus Prime, and it will fit in the place, but it doesn't peg in securely. So you can put it in there and kind of tip it back and close the window there, and it'll hold it in place, but as soon as you open it, it just falls out. So it's not really designed to hold that one. I think it's because of the depth of the peg inside of this that it, or not the peg, but the peg hole, that it will hold into that. But as far as accessories go, you've seen the articulation, you've seen the design and all that stuff. This isn't really an accessory, but because it's removable, I kind of consider it an accessory. The smokestacks come off, and you can, put them in his hands like guns. I don't know why, but I mean, maybe he has, oh, no, yeah, Maybe he has boot guns. I shoot you in the knee. You can stick it on his back. I don't know. Don't really know why they're removable, but they are. So if it's removable, it's an accessory. He comes with, not only does he come with one blaster, he actually comes with two blasters. And the two blasters are representative of two different versions of the gun as the toy evolved. The original Optimus Prime had this sort of fat-looking barrel. The original toy did. And different versions of him, of that same toy later on, the gun design changed a little bit. And so he had a more like a pointy barrel. If I'm not mistaken, I don't have any blast effects around, but I do believe that this one can be compatible with a blast effect. From the more recent Transformers lines. I haven't tried it out because I don't usually use the blast effects. I have like a bunch of blast effects in a box, but I don't usually use them. But this one's not, because it has like a little needle tip thing on there. But I put him with this gun because that's the gun I remember him in all the pictures, and like the picture on the package and all. He had that sort of fat looking gun, you know, the bigger, thicker barrel. But he doesn't just come with those two blasters. And what I did was I gave this blaster to my Prime Changer Optimus Prime from Transformers 1, the new CGI cartoon movie. But it looks really good with him because he doesn't come with a blaster. He just comes with the axe. Now, speaking of axes, this guy comes with his Energon axe. And you can put it in his hand and recreate that scene from the first mini-series of Transformers. And I will say this right now because it always just weirds me out that people get this way about this. But almost every reviewer that reviews any Optimus Prime that has his Energon axe, they're like, oh, they gave him that thing from that thing he used in that one scene. And it's like, bro, I don't care if he only used it in one scene. Optimus Prime has the ability to turn, like, fold his hand in and flip out a freaking energy axe. Don't you think that kids would like to have that as an option for their Optimus Prime going forward? It's not like he used it one time and then he was like, oh, I can never use that axe again. Dude, don't complain about stuff that, like, just comes with the package, you know? Like, oh, here you go, here's your option. You only used it in one episode, so I'll never use it again. There you go, I solved all your problems. But the cost of making this thing could have added to shut up. You get an Energon axe. Who complains about a freaking energy axe? All right, rant over. But yeah, that's how he looks. That's what he comes with. The articulation and all. And kind of comparing him to the last kind of mainline Optimus, I didn't get the what was it, Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. Was he Commander or Leader or whatever? The big one that's really nice. I'd like to get him, but he costs more than I want to pay for it. But I do have the Earthrise Optimus Prime, and you can see the Earthrise Optimus Prime is bigger than the original Optimus Prime, and the G1 Universe Legacy one is shorter than both of them. But that's fine for me because, like, this guy, I have different sizes of Transformers. Like, I have over in my collection over here, I have things that I want them to be like my headcanon Transformers stuff. The Optimus Prime I use as my main Optimus Prime is actually the bootleg Masterpiece Optimus Prime that shrunk down to Voyager size. And when I say to Voyager size, that's being gracious, or that's exaggerating, because he's taller than a Voyager size figure. That figure is he's probably this much taller than a Voyager figure. He's a big boy, but he's my favorite Optimus Prime. So that's the one that's in my main collection. I collect Optimus Prime, so I have Primes of different sizes, but I actually have this guy displayed with my G1 Transformers. So right next to Optimus on my shelf is this Optimus. So yeah, he's not quite in scale with stuff, and I don't think he's really supposed to be. Like, he's sort of like just a fun little homage to the original. It's a chance to give people that were kids in the 80s the Optimus Prime they wanted when they were kids. You know, that you can actually pose and have fun with in action poses and stuff like that. You know, that was the Optimus Prime we wanted, and I think that's really what it's for. It's not really an Optimus Prime to replace, you know, like your Earthrise Prime or the 86 Studio Series Optimus Prime. It's just kind of its own thing. And that's one thing I like about the Legacy United line and the other Legacy lines they've had. It's got Transformers from all different generations of Transformers that they're doing in kind of like a similar style. And, you know, sometimes I'll throw, like, I got Metal Hawk not too long ago because he was at Ross and he was at a really good price. And I picked up Metal Hawk. Metal Hawk has nothing to do with G1 Transformers for those of us on the American side. But in the Japanese Transformers, he was a character, a really cool character, actually, that was one of the Pretenders later on. And I really like him, and so for me, he sits in my regular collection because that's my, you know, headcanon thing. Like, in my headcanon, Optimus Prime and the other guys that died on the Ark and all never died, and they just kept on being cool because I want to be a kid forever. But anyway, enough of that. I'm just all talky today. So let's take a look at the transformation of this guy. And I think it's really clever, the way they did some of the stuff. Yes, it transforms a lot like the original. And for comparison and such, we're not going to mess with this guy because he's a little bit more complicated to transform. I'm going to transform the original one and show you just how simple that was. And also to show you, like, if you've never messed with the G1 Optimus Prime or G2 Optimus Prime, I'm just going to call him G1 because he's based on the G1 mold. But anyway, just to show you how simple this transformation works, you just flip this around, you flip these boys back here, and you have to kind of, I didn't really show this, but you have to kind of pull them out a little bit and flip them around, and they'll flip back, or they'll slide back into place like that. The elbows come up and flip around. You can already see there's a cab of a truck there. Straighten the toes and bend. Do I have it right? Something's not. Oh, there we go. And that's it. That's the simple, elegant transformation of the G1 Optimus Prime mold. And man, just looking at this guy, he's a little bit loose right there, which I can fix that. Just looking at this guy sends me back in time. I didn't have Optimus Prime, but my best buddy when I was a kid, he had Optimus Prime, and we played with him all the time. He was, to me, one of the coolest toys that ever existed when I was a kid. I always wanted him, never got him as a kid. You know, I got several Optimuses. Like, I'm out of Transformers, I mainly collect Optimize. And I have an Optimus Prime collection in another room, and it's just nothing but Optimus Primes. And I've actually downsized that collection because at one point I had so many Optimus Primes. Just because not only do I love the toy of the original, it's his character and all in the G1 cartoon. And Peter Cullen's performance as Optimus Prime. And Optimus Prime is like, to me, he was always the guy I wanted to be. He was a protector. He was a friend. He loved his fellow Autobots. He loved the humans that he was kind of charged to protect. And honestly, deep down, I think he loved Megatron, but he hated what Megatron did. Because, you know, he kind of stood up to Megatron because Megatron was evil. But, you know, Optimus Prime never wanted to fight this war. So to me, he was a reluctant hero. He was a Ryan Pax. He was a file clerk or a shipping clerk or something like that. And he had leadership thrust on him. And it's just really cool. And man, I'm just going off on Optimus Prime today. We're talking about this toy right here. But very similar in transformation is this one. What you do here is a little bit different. The head does flip back, but it fits inside of this little compartment on his back. And it closes up pretty securely. And then what you'll do is you take the elbows up, and instead of taking off the fist for the headlights, you actually pull this down. And this, to me, feels like a weak joint, but it's held up really well. It's kind of, when you first do it, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to break this thing. And no, you're not. It just kind of pops down like that. And then you can take this, and you can now see the headlights, and you flip it around and pop it back up. And that is such a really nice engineering bit there to get that light out and the fist in. And you do that on both sides. You flip this down, and it'll click into place like that. And you really, honestly, you don't have to do it like that all the way, just as long as you can get it down enough for the fist to get up under there like that and close that up. And I was showing this figure to my buddy and my nephew yesterday when I went to visit my friend. My nephew was there, and I was showing it to them, and they were like so impressed with the engineering on this guy, because they remembered the original, you know. But you can flip these back, but I don't peg it in place, or I don't flip it around, because the legs here, they're similar, but they're different. You flip the toes up just like the original, but you have some pegs that peg in. And you'll notice whenever you peg them in, it's real wobbly right here. And it's like, you know, if you don't know what's going on, luckily I had seen some reviewers talk about, you know, like, don't worry about this. So I want to mention it when I'm reviewing it in case anybody watches it and they're thinking about getting this figure. When you first peg it in, it's like, oh, that's not going to hold together. More of this engineering genius with this thing. You can start to fold in, like, what I do is you fold in. You can lift up the little skirt thing there, and these wheels will fold down, and this will actually pin into the wheels there. Like there's little clips on each side, and that actually pegs into there. Let's see, did I get it? Yeah, I got it in there. And then you can take the arms and flip them around here, kind of work everything under like that. And you can do the same thing over here and just work it in. Once again, it's the original Optimus Prime transformation. It's got just some extra stuff to keep it real secure. Now, there is, on the leg here, there's a little port right there, and there's a little peg on the gas tank. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yep. And there's a little peg under there. There's a little port right here, and you just kind of seat it in there. And you do that on each side. That wants to pop out over here. And you make sure that those pegs are all secure, and it doesn't wobble anymore. It holds it securely back there. And there's actually tabs on the side, inside of there, and that will clip in there. And your Optimus Prime, you have to do a little squeezinating, and he's very secure. It holds together really well. And it looks like the G1. The headlights might look a little bit better now because there isn't a big hole in the middle, but you know, none of us ever cared about the little holes when we were kids. But like the details there, all the details from the original carry over, with some added little details. But like the little cabin right there is on this. Everything's carried over. The little rivets that are in the original are on this. All of the little details are there, carried over. They're a little bit smaller, and it's not metal. You know, this guy is all plastic. You'd be paying a lot more for him if it had some metal in it, even just a little. It would have been really nice to have chrome or at least silver paint. Like the silver paint on his tank is nice, and the silver paint on the side stripe and right here is nice. The the bare plastic smokestacks are, it could have been done nicer, and they could have done the paint on these, but like, again, it's budgeting stuff they have to watch out for. But yeah, it's there. Oh, wait a minute. See something. Whoa, I think that's the same diameter on the peg for the original and this port right here on the new one. I think that I don't have a G1 Optimus trailer, but it looks like, yeah, it's the same height too. I think the original G1 Optimus trailer will actually peg over. This will peg into that. So you can actually have him carry the original one. I don't have the original trailer, but I have something that's almost as good. Now, when the Earthrise Optimus figure came out, a lot of people noticed that the trailer, like the truck that he forms, is bigger than the G1 Optimus. And I always noticed that it was a little bit too big for the trailer that came with him. Like, the trailer always seemed like it was a little bit small compared to the cab, in proportion. But works out pretty well for this guy, in my opinion. It's not perfect, by any means. This should actually be closer like that to the cab, but beggars can't be choosers. And it works. Now, because this guy is lower to the ground, the peg has to come down more, and so the two back tires don't always turn. It's like, it's on a flat. If it's on a flat surface, the back two tires, one on each side, they won't turn, because this is down slightly. If it were level, they would both turn. And maybe somebody has made like a spacer that fits in here. And actually, what would be nice is if you had something that would fit tightly in here, and it had another peg hole right here, so that this thing could sit right there. And that would be really nice. I don't know. Somebody might have already 3D printed one, or 3D sculpted and printed one. I don't know. I'm fine with it like it is. I mean, it would be nice to have something that kind of pulls it closer, because a cab doesn't sit this far away from the trailer. But I don't care. To me, this makes me as happy as I was when I was a kid playing with my buddy's Optimus Prime in the floor in his family's living room. We would roll this guy along. Optimus Prime could just take on anybody and everything. And I kind of feel like that again. I feel like a little kid again. And that's what's important with this figure for me. That's what this figure is all about. So having a trailer that fits with him is really nice. Having this figure is really nice. And I mean, even, like, not everybody has this trailer or a trailer for it. This is fine like it is. I mean, this is a fantastic figure. I'm so happy with it. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, when I saw the first people talking about the missing link Optimus, I was like, oh man, I want one of those so bad. And then I saw the prices on them, and I'm like, it's just not going to happen. And then this one was announced, and I saw pictures of this one, and I was like, okay, I got it. I'm gonna have that Optimus Prime that I wanted, back when I was a kid. Is it going to be exactly the same? No, but guess what? I'm not exactly the same as I was when I was a kid either. Just doesn't happen. You grow up, you change, the world changes. Good Lord, does the world change ever. But as long as you can have a little bit of enjoyment with revisiting an old friend from when you were a kid, somebody that's not quite the same, you're not quite the same, but it still feels like going back home again. That's what this Optimus Prime is for me. I just love this figure, and I'm glad that I was able to get him. I've yet to see this guy at retail. Every Walmart that I've been to, everywhere I've gone, he's not there. Other figures from that wave will be there, but he's gone. And I think I understand why. I think whenever big kids like me go into the store and see this figure in the package, and you see that illustration of that original Optimus Prime truck, and you see the awesome art that makes you think of the artwork that was on the original packaging from back in 1984, and you see that Optimus Prime that just looks like what you imagined Optimus Prime was like, you know, like the imagination's eye you had of this Optimus Prime in his robot mode, and how you imagined, you know, he would be posable and he could be dynamic and all. And that's not to slight at all the original Optimus Prime, because, you know, there's a reason why he's a toy that when adults see pictures of that toy, they just have like a visceral reaction, and they're like, yeah, I remember that guy. He'll always have a special place for me, this figure. Like I said, he's not G1, but he's G1 enough for me. And this guy's not G1, but he is the Optimus Prime I always wished for. What more could I ask for? It's like, it's 2025. I didn't think we were ever going to live to the year 2025, you know? Like, I thought for sure the planet would have blown up or got run over by alien zombie alligators from Neptune or something by this point. But we're in 2025, and I'm playing with the toy that I wanted when I was like, you know, 8 years old or whatever. No, how old was I? I was too old to be playing with toys probably, but whatever. This is the toy I wanted, and I got it. And thank you, Hasbro. It's a really cool toy. And if you haven't found one yet, they should still be available. I've seen them on Amazon. I've seen them at Big Bad Toy Store. Well worth the price to me, anyway. And I hope you feel the same way. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And just think back to how things were simpler when you were a kid, and how imagination filled the gap between this to this. And hope you have a nice day.